Well, the weather has been not conducive for softball play over the last week or so, but nonetheless, we are here with In the Circle. In the Circle is presented by Rawlings, which is the official softball of the Missouri Valley Conference and the NCAA. And today, joining us is first-year head coach at Drake University, Lindsay Diehl. And welcome aboard, Coach. And tell us a little bit about your background. You've kind of worked your way up through the ranks, and talk about your stops along the way and getting to Drake University.
Now I kind of, when I tell my story, sometimes I'm like, oh, it is a unconventional way to get to the Division I level. 6 years ago, I was a high school coach. So, I played at Indian Hills and then played at Western Illinois University. And I always say I got a degree in softball. And so I wanted to keep coaching. I knew that. And somebody was crazy and hired me as a head coach at Clark when I was 19. So I did start coaching high school while I was still playing. But I got an opportunity to go to Iowa Central Community College up in Fort Dodge. That was in 2005. I went up there and started coaching with Rick Sandquist. I was with him for 5 years. And decided I missed being at home, being around my family. And so I went back to school to be a teacher, and I started coaching at Clark High School around 2010. I coached there for quite a while. We won a state championship in 2014. I know that you were on the call for that, so it's kind of fun, our little background. And then I got a phone call from Indian Hills, and went and checked that out and had a stop over there for 5 years. And I loved it at Indian Hills. I felt like I had kind of developed a system to be successful, and we had won, regional titles and been to the World Series a couple times, finished in the top 8. And then I got a phone call from Drake University, and I thought I'm crazy if I don't go check this out. And so here I am. So like I said, it wasn't. I love Iowa. I love the Iowa girl. I love that I had this opportunity to be a Division I coach in the state of Iowa, and so extremely excited to see what we can do here.
Well, you said you talked about the call from Drake University. You'd be crazy not to check it out. So, what intrigued you about this position at Drake?
I've always had a ton of respect for this program. Growing up an hour south of here, I had friends that I played against in high school that came and played here, and playing at Western Illinois, we always played them. I had a ton of respect for Calvert and what he's done, and I always followed. There were some athletes that I coached against that ended up being some really great players here, and so always following them, flipping on the TV any chance I had. And so when I got the call, I've always had a little bit in the back of my head, like I loved where I was, but I wonder if I can do it at this level. And so once I came up here, and I just felt at home right away. Everybody made me feel comfortable and feel like you can do this. And I felt like I had people in my corner. And so it's like, let's go try this. So I'm really fortunate. Stephanie Sledge reached out to me. When I saw on my way to Colorado, I saw that I was going out there to recruit, that Coach Calvert had stepped down, and my assistant right away was like, "Are you going to apply for it?" And I had people texting me, and I was like, "No, no, I love where I am." And then I was like, "Okay, this sounds like a great opportunity." So.
But and you had mentioned at Indian Hills, and along the way, you have a system in place that was successful in all of your stops. Tell us a little bit about what system we will see with your team at Drake.
I really am super passionate. We've had a lot of conversations about the mental game. I feel like when you get to this level, everybody's talented. And so it's like, what is going to be the separator? Because I go watch athletes as we're recruiting. And when things are good, it's easy to be good. It's like, how do you handle adversity? How do you handle failure? And so I think that that's something that I'm really trying to implement. And I contribute that all the time of like the success that we had at Clark High School. I don't know that we were the best team in Class 3A that year, but I had the mentally tough team that was going to continue to compete and find a way to win. And it became that same way at Indian Hills, that it was just, we talk a lot about so what next pitch, and parts of this game you're going to fail. And it's like being okay with failure, not being okay with losing, but being okay with handling, like, how do you respond? And I think that just like certain ways that, we talk a lot about just the way that we present ourselves, playing this game with class. I want to be the team that it's hard to hate us because we're really, really good, but we also play the game in a classy way, and we treat you with respect. And that's kind of how I want to be known.
I've heard you talk about the circle of concern and the circle of control.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that approach to the game.
There's so many variables that happen in this game, and people spend so much energy talking about them when you have zero control over them. So your attitude, your energy, your commitment, your concentration, your effort, your appearance. I talk a lot about body language, that you are a walking billboard all the time. And so just like no loser limps when we're playing. I don't want your shoulders slumped forward. And so those are the only things that you can control in this game. And so many times people are complaining about umpires, the weather, the field conditions, the time you have to play, all of those things. And it's like they're out of your circle of control. So stop giving them energy. I know that I've talked to you before about that game that we played at the state tournament. They were playing at 11 o'clock on a Thursday night. We were supposed to play at like 4. And I was excited because we were already, the other team that's all they were talking about. That's all the coach was talking about, and so I was like, we have them distracted. Like we're already ahead. And so I love those kinds of things. And, it's always an adjustment to get, especially when I'm taking over a team, to be like, we don't talk about the weather. I know it's cold out here, but that's not something that we're going to spend time talking about. And, I think that it's a difference maker to be able to live in your circle of control. I've had a couple different mound visits where pitchers, they look uptight. They look like they're trying, they just don't look loose, and, like they're attacking the zone and they're trying to find the umpire zone. And I'm like, that's not what I want you to do. I want you to go attack your pitch, and do your job, because now you're trying to hang a ball over middle of the plate, and that's going to get us in trouble. And so once they kind of take the umpire out of the equation and they're just, working what they can do, that they've made some adjustments.
Yeah, well, I will talk about circle of control and not having it. So the weather, you've kind of been dormant for a week or so. So how does that affect your team heading into trying to get a game in on Wednesday and heading into conference play, a 3-game weekend? How do you get your team back into a rhythm?
Yesterday we went live with each other to just try to keep having pitchers see batters, having batters see live, and try to work on those approaches at the plate and those kinds of things to try to simulate things that we're not able to get because Mother Nature's not in our corner right now. But it's not something that I spend a lot of time talking about. I really tried to emphasize that like rest is good for us right now. Like we needed a little bit of rest as we get ready to hopefully flip a switch. We're still really riding a roller coaster of trying to figure out who we want to be and what kind of team we are going to be, because they've shown moments of greatness, but then they sometimes just revert back to to some old behaviors of not believing in themselves and those kinds of things. And so I think that this will be great for us as we get ready to I really wish we could have played at home with a series against Valpo. It's always, you've been on the road so much on the front side of the season that it's like you hate to miss out on a home series, but it is what it is. And I think the pitchers, they threw a little bit yesterday and they said they felt better than they have in a while. And so I'm really trying to just focus on the positives of what came of maybe a little bit of rest.
Well, let's talk about a couple of your players. Emma Dighton, newcomer of the year a year ago in the conference. And she kind of does a little bit of everything for you guys. So talk about her impact to this team, not only at the plate, but in the circle.
I knew who Emma was prior to taking over. I had actually tried to recruit her. So one of the first things she said to me was, I hope you're not mad at me that I didn't pick you in the first place. And I said, we were destined to be together. So, but I knew that she is a competitor. She wants the ball. She's going to, grit her teeth and get in there and go fight. And that's really what, I always tell her all the time that the team is watching you. Like you are leading this team, whether you are aware of it, like whether you're doing it verbally or not. And your presence. And so being aware of what your body language is all the time is everybody's going to feed off of that, because I want her up in big moments. I want her to have the ball in her hand in a big moment, because she just is made that way. And our relationship continues to grow, and I really appreciate her. And she's one of those kids that it takes a little while for her to let you in. But I feel like I'm in now. She's joking around with me, and to play for me, we have to be able to have a sense of humor with one another and joke around. And so I'm excited that I have a kid like her here and that I get her back. So
Yeah, she was a great addition to the Bulldogs and really made an impact in the league a year ago.
yes.
She's an impressive player. Let's talk about one of your other pitchers who just maybe seen some steady improvement from is Molly Hoekstra, who
Yeah.
has over the course of the season developed. What have you seen from her since the beginning of February to now?
Molly is a kid that from the very beginning, the first time I was up here in my office, she came up and sat down and we had some really good conversations about what she wanted. And I know that she has worked really hard. Every day I was showing up here, prior to school starting, she's out here on the field, throwing some bullpens and trying to work because she wants to be in the circle. She wants her opportunity. She really has bought in and wants to grow her mental game as well. And in the fall, prior to, she kind of had a little bit of an injury, where it took her out a little bit before we got to the big four. But she was really starting to show me in the fall what I thought we could get from her in the spring. And she's going to fight for it. And she's worked really hard to try to increase her spin rate, so that she's just getting a little bit more break on her ball. And I saw some really good things out of her when we were at Southern. And I then again here at Western Illinois, I felt like she had command. She kept us in the game, until we decided to wake up a little bit offensively and score some runs to go ahead in that one. But I'm really pleased, and she's going to be back again next year as well. And so, it's exciting to see them growing and knowing what the future is going to be for them.
Well, Coach, thanks for joining us. Let's hope in the circle of control, somebody has control of the weather this week and will allow you guys to play a few games. So thanks, Coach, for joining us today, and look forward to seeing you down the road.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.